Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser. I went plain today, but it is coffee in there, and it's Friday. It's a TGIFF, if you will, over here at American Scouser. With us, as always, is Friday. Kazi is here with his Firmino teeth. What's going on? Coffee, tea? What are we doing over there?
Just a water, guys. I'm just a standard water guy today.
So. Oh, I was like, I didn't even see anything for a second. I was like, it was like a magic trick. Okay, it was the green screen effect. And with us making his debut over here, and you know, this is a really shitty way for you to start with me and Kazi, but it is what it is. John is with us. John, what's going on, man?
I'm good. It's Friday. I'm absolutely buzzing. Coffee for me.
Coffee. So, there we go. Mm-hmm. Alan is with us this morning, and Brian Shelton. What's going on, gentlemen? Good morning to everybody. So a lot to get to, as always. But before we get to the Liverpool stuff, I kind of wanted to get to this and get this out of the way. Wanted to get your guys' take on this. The good old Messi story. Who went to Saudi Arabia. I mean, you can't blame a guy for trying to get a contract that's like $400 million a year or some bullshit like that. I'll take the suspension over that too, I guess. But he's getting suspended over there now. Basically, Ronaldo has destroyed the team that he has gone to in Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. I guess my question is, and we'll start with you, Kazi, why the fuck? Because, I mean, money should not be an issue, right? I mean, you know, Messi could fucking fart and sell the jar and save himself a year of playing in fucking Saudi Arabia, first of all, right? So, like, the money can't be an issue. Why would you jack up your legacy? I mean, I know the ego is there, so you probably don't want to become this 30 minutes guy, but isn't that better than fucking, you know, being treated like dirts everywhere else, whereas you were, you know, just finishing Barcelona off the bench, whatever?
I mean, it's a great point. I feel like the money thing has to be a thing for him, because that's the reason why he kind of left Barcelona. They couldn't really get a deal sorted, and he kind of, you know, we wouldn't accept kind of a pay cut kind of thing for the club that you love, supposedly, who were in the shit, and he still wouldn't, you know, accept a pay cut. Yeah, and you are completely right about the Ronaldo situation as well. Is there a thing where they want to put both together for what, you know, for one last crack at this, to see Ronaldo and Messi in one team? Even though we're never going to watch the games and just watch highlights on Twitter and go, they look good together, and then never watch a full 90 minutes. I don't know. And the other thing about Paris, by the way, this is like the key part, I think, of this story. They've suspended them when they have nothing to play for.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, what is that going to matter? Yeah.
Doesn't matter. So you look like a club like, oh, look, we're taking this seriously. We suspended them. Fuck me, fella. If you were playing Real Madrid in the semi-final at Champions League next week, you ain't suspending Lionel Messi.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So you can come out to this moral high ground kind of thing, but let's get it right. That's the only reason why you've done it. But listen, I just hope he goes back to Barcelona, or I just hope he goes to like the MLS or something where he can be idolised. But I don't know. I don't know what he's playing on.
I just wish these guys would not go anywhere. First of all, it's ironic for PSG to be like, we take a stance against players, and then gave half of Paris to fucking Mbappe, so he would stay. So it's just like, I don't know about that. He has like 2 suburbs there, so he would stay. So, I mean, I just trying to look from, I mean, PSG, yeah, they're like, we won the league. We didn't do shit in the Champions League again. Okay, well, but I feel like a player like Messi, a player like Ronaldo, when they go somewhere else, I mean, Ronaldo, traveled a lot more, at least, you know, so he's already in that nomad mode. But especially for like Messi, he was in Barcelona. He could have just like stayed there, been this guy, be their Milner, if you will, try to come off the bench, make a difference, start occasionally, you know, like they do over here in the NBA, some like load management for him, and just blend in. Nobody would be like, you're done, man, or anything like that. I feel like it's more you show yourself as, I mean, by going to Saudi Arabia for whatever money it is, you're saying, I'm done anyway.
Yeah.
What do you think, John? I mean, like, why do these guys like tarnish? Or is it just like the money thing? Is it just an ego thing that at the end of the deal, you're the one who made the most or something?
I do think it's an ego deal too, because I'm sure he sees what Ronaldo earns there, and he's like, yeah, I could definitely do that too. To your point about him,
he's on the phone. He's like, "You're making how much?"
Right, exactly. You're making how much, and I'm busting my ass over here in PSG trying to get these guys their first Champions League. Well, this guy's just scoring the odd goal every now and then, and he's getting all the fanfare. Well, here I get criticized like hell for not getting things done on PSG. So, say what you want about Messi, love him or hate him. He's earned his plaudits. He's made his mark, especially after the World Cup. He has nothing left to prove. Yeah. So I would say that he has earned the right to just go after the money and just, I don't want to say chill, but
he has the money. Like, when Genie left
right.
for the money contract, right? Or when somebody like Emre Can went for that contract,
right.
We're like, you know what? He won everything he could or whatever. The guy wants his contract. That's fair. I can go with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Messi has the money. He can eat a bag of Lay's chips and make just as much as playing somewhere for a year.
I agree. Like, listen, I'm just trying to analyze it as much as well. But right, it's a tough cookie. But then if you're looking at it, the only reason I could think of is maybe like the perfect. It's a perfect enactment, like he did. Got on the phones like Ronaldo's making how much? Yeah. It was just like.
I think the other thing as well, and this is key, going back to the PSG suspension, I've just checked. PSG are 5 points clear in the league. They suspend them for 2 weeks. The 2 games that they play, the teams are 18th and 19th in the league. I.e., we don't need Lionel Messi to beat these 2 teams. So my argument is if they were playing Marseille, for example, who were second in the league, would they still suspend Messi? Definitely not, in my opinion. It's just, again, it's one of those things, and it's a bit like going back onto the gambling on the sponsorships in the Premier League, where it's just like, you're making a small token gesture, but let's get it right. If you really wanted to punish Messi, you'd say, don't come back, stay out, we're going to say it in the summer and go away. Right. But let's get it right. You still want to win the league title. You're playing the teams who are in the bottom 3. Come on.
It's just, I just find it mind-boggling that, Ronaldo had it at United. You go to these places and you just make like a bitter divorce at the end and you leave and stuff. Whereas you didn't have to do any of this shit. 400 million for a year holiday inside of it is pretty appealing. See, I mean,
us regular guys, definitely. For us
to
regular
us it is, but I mean, okay, if you're gonna make 200 million staying in Spain, eating a bag of chips and chasing it down with some Pepsi, I mean, I would just do that, instead of like going over there. It's more of like a legacy thing than anything else. Absolutely. I think, being idolized for that team. And when you look back, I mean, everybody's going to see, I don't know, in 20 years from now, I definitely won't be around, but I don't know how long Kazi will stick around. But, like when John, you're a young dude, you'll be around. Polish Prince will be around, Jamie and stuff. I mean, when people look back and think of Messi, the Messi image you're going to see is going to be wearing an Argentina jersey or a Barcelona jersey. Nobody's going to be saying like, remember Messi when he was in Al Hilal or whatever, apart from a couple of guys from Saudi Arabia. Nobody's going to say that. So I just don't understand why you would mess up your legacy. But that's on them. I kind of figured, like I saw it I think yesterday when I saw the suspension, and I thought the same thing you did, Kazi. I was like, come on, you guys are going to be shitting me over here. But more importantly, yesterday we had the whole changing on going on over here in the things. And I know, Kazi, you're all hyper now. So what do you think of top 4? Let's start with you. Is that within grasp?
I'm just quite happy that Ten Hag at like 3 a.m. was getting into bed in Manchester, put his head on the pillow and he just did the Jaws music. Dun, 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 dun. We're coming for you, baby. I mean,
it's perfect.
That's genuinely like, it's mad this, because I've said for weeks, as people probably know when they scored, I said we can catch United because they look so jaded and so tired because they played so much football. It looks like that Casemiro can't get out of second gear anymore. He just looks gassed. And considering he's played at Real Madrid and stuff like that and played long into the season, he just looks tired. And like yesterday, that would hurt yesterday because how they got beat. I think if they would have, let's get it right, if they would have lost 3-0 to Brighton over a standard game, just got outplayed, fair enough. United were in the game for large parts of the game. They were well in it. And then how they lose the game. And then again, you come back to, again, you get to Manchester at 3 a.m. And then you got to go, okay, so we recover tomorrow. You train Saturday. Then you got to travel down to London Saturday to sleep, to play West Ham away, who need points. I think it's well on for Liverpool. I really do. They have to get 9 points out of 15. Klopp got it wrong today in the press conference. He said 8. It's 9 because our goal difference is so superior to theirs. So it is 9 points technically if Liverpool win out. And then, again, they've got to play West Ham They got to play Bournemouth, who I think are fantastic right now. I think it's Bournemouth. So I really fancy us. I genuinely fancy us. I know people are like surprised by this, but I think Liverpool are playing sides. You could argue Brentford are a good team, but Liverpool have lost one at home all season. So I expect Liverpool to win every game at home.
Yeah, this is what they have left right here. Away to West Ham, home Wolves, away Bournemouth, home Chelsea, which, I mean, really, Chelsea, holy shit. And then Fulham at home. So, John, are we making top 4? Where are you at with this?
I'm very 50-50 on it. I didn't think we'd make it a few seasons ago when we had all the center back injuries. I didn't think we were going to make it. And this one, and somehow we made it, but here I would say it's a tad bit harder because we're relying on more people to do it. Because I recall a few seasons ago, we just had to rely on, I think, Chelsea dropping points, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But now there's, we got to rely on United dropping points. We got to rely on Newcastle as well, I believe, because I am of the opinion that I think United are going to win all the remaining home games. I think the only game that's probably going to give them trouble there is probably Bournemouth, right? Chelsea, the Chelsea game, I think Chelsea is too good a team to just end up not winning anything, and I do hope that right. Like, you look at their team. I don't know. You look at their team. It's full of internationals, right? Somehow, some way, they're gonna get something. They're gonna get something clicking. I don't know. Like,
hold on, let me scroll down to find the Chelsea
right.
you're talking about.
I'm probably talking out of my ass here, but and it's more out of desperation than anything else. But
okay, here's what they have left.
Jesus.
Holy shit is right. Oh. Maybe they'll beat Wrexham when they come to Florida.
Yeah.
But they're away to Bournemouth. I don't see anything. I think Bournemouth wins that, to be honest with you, because they're rolling and Chelsea's rolling downhill. Forest, you never know. City, and that's sadly, I think United, as well. I mean, they're defending that Arsenal game. I mean, it's just horrific. Everybody is already on vacation, and then they play Newcastle. Really, a resurgence by Chelsea is something that we can only wish for.
Right.
Because
exactly.
They would take points away from United and Newcastle. But I'm kind of like with all the commenters over here. I mean, 5th, I think, is what's going to happen here. We walk up a bit too late. And here's the thing I think Sparky was saying. United will lose points, but I don't even see this team winning out either, to be honest with you.
My point is, though, going back to United's fixtures, of course, some of them look tough and stuff like that. But that Fulham game at home on the last day, people forget what happened in the FA Cup. Because if I'm Fulham and I've got nothing to play for, and you're going to United and you're going to go, you know what? I'm fucking still pissed about what happened in the FA Cup with Mitrovic, with Silva getting sent off and all these suspensions and how it all fell apart. If you've got nothing to play for and everything can be kind of, they change it off kind of thing. Because I'll be saying, if I was Marco Silva, I would go, listen, lads, you've got nothing to play for and I want you to go out and play openly, freely. And think about what happened in that FA Cup game. That looks like a bit of a tough game. They just gave Liverpool a tough game on Wednesday. So it could. Again, I just don't think United. I think people are realising how tired United are. Villa should have beat them. I think, personally, Villa should have got something out the game at least. And they sneaked that one. They didn't get it. It didn't happen yesterday. It looks like they're just stumbling over the line. I just don't see where they get 9 points. I just don't see where they can get the full 9 points. They got to win 3 out of 6. Really? They might be able to, even if they draw tomorrow. If they draw it on Sunday. Let's say they draw it on Sunday. If Liverpool play tomorrow, we're only a point behind them. We could win. Yeah. We're a point behind them, then they look and go.
I swear, you should go into sales. Forget the support deal. You should just go into sales.
I wasn't, like I said, I was 50-50, but hearing Kazi here, it's gone up a bit. I was like,
Hey, I'm telling you, if it's anyone else but Liverpool, because Liverpool just do mad things. Even like in January, we were all sitting there going, we're shit on the league, but we'll just win the Champions League. Because that's how we think. Because you just do mad shit. Liverpool do mad shit. That should be actually under, you know what I mean? Forget you never walk alone, just put Liverpool do mad shit. Like, that shouldn't happen in football. If it wasn't Liverpool, I'd be going, no chance. But just because it's Liverpool, it's just so weird. By the way, and also, the ironic of it, if McAllister scores the pen, who could potentially, of course, we'll get onto that now, sign for Liverpool, and then It's just all a nice little cherry on the cake, isn't it?
I know, right? He just showed that he is Liverpool material by scoring over there. But okay, so give me, before we move on to the press conference and the weekend game, give me a percentage of our top 4 chances. Kazi, let's start with you.
64.
64, man. So much science went into that. That's probably rounded off from 63.7 or something. John, give me a percentage.
Like I said, I started off at 50, but Kazi here just kind of amped things up a little. So I would say around 64 too.
Come
So
on.
credit to you, man. Like, you got me believing. What did Klopp say? From doubters to believers, right? So
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, see, I know Kazi enough not to be swayed by his optimism over here. Yeah, I'll stick with my 25% because I and honestly, a big reason of that is I don't even see us winning out. Sparky's at 40. Sparky is higher than me. Sparky's at 40.
40.
And I think it goes back to what Sparky was saying earlier, that I don't think, and now, let's go to that. I mean, we have even more midfield issues now. When we already knew about Thiago, that he had the surgery, he just double confirmed it today. I guess it's like that ongoing deal that he should have had surgery. He didn't. And then now he did. He probably saw Jones playing. He was like, this guy's doing better than I am anyway, so I'm just going to go have surgery, kind of a deal.
I gotta say, who would have thought Curtis Jones just taking Thiago's place to start the year?
I mean, probably Thiago did.
No, if you told me at the start of the season that Curtis Jones would be a nailed-on starter in a very clutch point of the season over Thiago.
Yeah.
No, but here's the thing, though. When he took over, it wasn't a clutch point. You know what I mean? It was more like it wasn't like the neutral. We were rolling downhill, and then you were like, "Yeah, just hop on in the back, dude." But I think he's kind of like earned that spot now, right?
Yeah,
even if Thiago was there, I feel like Jones would be out there.
Tim, I want to ask you a question, because I know this is the first time probably Jones has had a run of starts in his career, and it looks like it's really paying off. Where are you at with Jones? Because I know you felt a bit like, I'm not sure with him right now still. Where are you at now after the last couple of
I think he's a good... Well, I mean, I'm not where Sparky is and say Jones is shit. But I am not there. I think Jones should be your 5th or 6th midfielder in your squad. That's where I'm at.
I would
next season.
Yes. So he should be like the guy that is your regular in these like League Cup games, FA Cup games, and stuff like that. And then when you have midweek games and all that, he should be able to come in and do the job of, whoever you're resting for the weekend game, or if you're resting somebody for the Champions League game. Well, if you're top 4, to make these percentages with you guys got, something like that. Or especially even worse, if we're 5th. And we're playing Thursdays.
He starts every Europa League game, doesn't he?
Yeah, especially in Europe. I mean, I can see Jones going out there, especially in the first rounds where things are a lot easier, going out there and playing so that you keep your starting 11 actually for the weekend.
Yeah.
But if he is like 4 in your midfield depth, I'd be very, very worried. Because before you know it, he'll be 2 with the injury history that we always have. And that's what I'd be afraid of. I mean, so Milner is almost at Brighton. I don't know if it's official yet, but it's almost official, if you will. So Meteor says you're expecting Klopp to. I almost feel like at this point you would think he will learn, right, and like start rotating. But hey, you never know. So McAllister, after seeing him probably yesterday, I would think everybody watched him a lot closer. I mean, I think I mentioned him like months ago, because I feel like he's kind of like, I know everybody was watching when we were watching Brighton games, everybody was watching Caicedo because he was the target at the time and stuff, but he's really silently can play the 6, can play the 8 and stuff like that. So John, what do you think of the McAllister thing? If that signing happens, are you all for it?
Oh, absolutely. He is everything that we need. I don't think we've everyone talks about how good Thiago has been when he's available, but I don't think we've actually replaced Wijnaldum ever since he left. We do not have that midfielder that actually tracks back as well as he did back in the day. But when we had fullbacks going forward and we left some holes. I dare say last season, as good as we were, we did look a bit more exposed defensively, even with our best midfield in Fab, Thiago, and Hendo. Hendo doesn't have it anymore physically, unfortunately. So in terms of having a midfielder that can actually run for a sustained period and who's technical, like, Wijnaldum was technical, but McAllister's different level, I would say. We were talking about it in the pregame. He can actually strike a ball, and he isn't scared. He isn't scared to shoot. So to answer your question, 1,000% all for it. He's exactly what we need. For a glaring issue that has plagued us throughout the entire year.
Yeah, and I think that's what I like. He can play either one. Like, so he can, like when we talk about Jones, for example, and Elliott and stuff like that, you can only see them from like the attacking side of midfield more than anything else. Whereas McAllister, you can kind of use him there. You can use him instead of Fab and, all over the place. Probably Fab will be coming in for him is what I would think, if anything. What do you think, Kazi?
Yeah, it's a weird one. I love McAllister. I think he's a great player. What he reminds me of, he's quicker than Jones and Elliott, like on the ball, especially. And he's also quicker off the ball. We lack a lot of pace in our midfield, a lot. And it's nice to see, we'll go on to the Milner, but Henderson could be stepping into that Milner role now and go, it's time to save your legs kind of thing. And we do need these young bodies, but I'm also banging to players who've had success. I'm also banging to players who've won something. So you're not talking them through difficult parts of cup games, or you're not talking them through semi-finals where McAllister's won the World Cup and played a key role in winning the World Cup, where he's played the biggest game of football. He's played the final in the biggest game of football against one of the greatest, in my opinion, teams of the last 15 years. That France side is amazing. Yeah. So it's like you've got the mentality where you've went deep. Where that I always used to struggle when everyone used to go with players. Oh, they got to get over the line. This team's got to get over the line and win something. Well, these lads have won something. This lad has won something. Do you know what I mean? So when I'm looking at the players that we are kind of linked with, you know what I mean? It looks like they've won something, or they've been in, say for example with Gravenberch, I think he won the league title at Ajax and stuff like that. Yeah. So you've been in those tough moments. You've been there. So I think that's why it was so big when Liverpool won the first trophy, because Mane hadn't been there, Salah hadn't been there, Van Dijk hadn't won anything apart from Celtic, where, let's get it right, you win the league every year. So it was a big thing. But when you're signing players who've already been there and won big trophies, I feel like it's a massive part of your squad.
So let me play the devil's advocate or that, though. You do need a healthy mix, because then you want to have some hunger at the same time. Which do you prefer, John? Do you want that experience that Kazi is talking about on being in the big games? Or you want a guy who wants to get to that big game? Because it's kind of like a...
Well, Kazi's point regarding Salah and Mane back then, Klopp was still at the start of his project, I would say. And right now we do have the players in terms of players who have won big, Alisson, Van Dijk, our core basically has won everything there is to win. But in terms of whether I like an experienced player coming in who's won everything and someone who's hungry, obviously a good mix would be the most ideal. But if we're talking a player like McAllister, that resume, that experience is just too hard to ignore, I would say. Like, for example, when we bought Thiago, man's won everything. Yeah. I was absolutely over the moon. I did not pay attention to his injury history, and that obviously, that obviously came to fruition. But it's having a player like that, the luxury of someone who knows, like, because when you have those cup games, those finals, semifinals, everyone's typically on edge, just long balls everywhere, disorganized play. Having that player who just knows that, who's been there. Oh, let's just slow it down, guys. Yeah. Let's just pass it around, try and find some openings. We don't need to hoof it. Shout out to Jordan Henderson. We don't need to hoof it every time. We can play it short. We can go around, try and find an opening. I think so. Yeah. I think in terms of McAllister, absolutely. I think his experience is too much. It's too hard to ignore. Rather,
to be fair, though, the guys we have, Kazi, even if they didn't have the experience in terms of winning things, the tough trophies. You look at a guy like we mentioned Mane, we mentioned Mo. There's a lot of guys like those two guys carry the entire load for their national teams and the pressure of the success of their national team. So they were still guys that are used to playing under pressure.
Yeah, completely fair. I just think I feel like it's different when you finally win one. And I think it was that big famous stat, of course, that Klopp lost 7 finals on the bounce or something like that. I think that was the famous stat. I can't remember. And then you win one, then you win loads. You win one, then you win basically every other one after that. So, you know what I mean? And I feel like with McAllister again, he hasn't won anything on the domestic stage. So it's like he wants that big move himself. He wants to play for the big club and stuff. But I feel like, again, when you're coming down to that moment of big game in semi-finals and quarterfinals and all this kind of stuff, you haven't got the nerves because you played in the biggest game in world football and won it. You played it with the greatest player of all time. He's your best mate, basically. Do you know what I mean? So I do feel like it is a thing. I know it sounds a bit crazy, but I like players who are young, who want that next step, but have also had success, which by the looks of the players that we are kind of linked with, are those kind of players. You know, I know that the Bellingham dream is definitely a pipe dream, but he could win Bundesliga this year. He has won the Pokal last year, so he has won trophies as well. So, you know, I do like those sort of players.
That is sounding more like a dream, though. So before we move on to the next one, are you okay with that now, Kazi? Have you made peace with the concept that we might get McAllister times 2, maybe 3, with the same money that would go to Bellingham?
I don't know if I've made peace with it, but I don't know if I was.
You took it really hard, man. So we were worried about you.
It was more just frustration because let's get it. With Liverpool waiting for Bellingham. If Liverpool were confused by the price of Bellingham, that's on Liverpool, and that should be seriously looked at. Everyone knew the price of Bellingham. I think what happened was I don't think the team and the manager was expecting the season to go that bad, where he was expecting the whole midfield legs to fall off, and he goes, "Well, actually, Fabinho looks finished today. He's 30, and he looks like he can't run anymore." And I think that is the issue. I don't know. My argument's always been Jude Bellingham, to me, will be the top 3 best centre midfielder for the next 10 years. He's as good a bet as most. He's as good as bet as Mbappe. He was like when Mbappe was 20, he was as good as bet as that. And that was my thing on Jude. He's as good as Haaland is as good as bet. He's going to be the best striker for the next 10 years. And he's going to win 5 Ballon d'Ors. So that was always my point. And by the way, I am with the club right now on the Bellingham thing. I am with the club of like, well, Liverpool do need 3 midfielders, unfortunately. Yeah. So, you know, Paulina was, by the way, great point there. Paulina was excellent against us. I thought he was fantastic. So if you do go and sign the Paulina and a McAllister and say one other, I do want that superstar though still. Not like a Bellingham, but I do want that one where you go, fuck me, that's a good, like, that's a surprising signing from Liverpool that you pull that off kind of thing. Maybe McAllister is that, I'm not sure. You know what I mean? But I do still want that X factor a little bit.
How about you, John? We never talked about this, obviously, your first time here, but your Bellingham take?
Well, when all the links came up, I was just cautiously optimistic because you know how it is with us. We get linked to a player for like months, and then it'll all just come crashing down. So, you know, Kazi, I kind of sympathize with you here because it looks like you had a lot of money on that signing, so to speak. So, right. But to Tim's point and to Kazi's point as well, I feel like we do need that statement signing. Getting Bellingham would have been a big statement of intent. You know, this season is, you know, let's not even sugarcoat it here. It's massively disappointing. And if, you know, us as fans, we all thought we would be challenging for the league, for the biggest honors, right? So it would have been nice for FSG, for Klopp, you know, everyone involved to go like, okay, we're sorry about this year, but we have plans. This is Bellingham. Like, here's Bellingham. Like, yeah, sorry, Kazi, you were going to say something?
No. You're completely right about the X Factor signing and going on for what you said in the Discord and stuff. Maybe it's Tchouaméni. Maybe that is the X Factor signing that we're all talking about. That we keep mentioning, got a camera.
I feel like it seems like, I mean, I made this conspiracy theory a couple of months ago, and it makes more and more sense because obviously, I mean, a lot of people, if he ended up going to Real, I mean, they just signed Kroos to an extension. I mean, I don't know, Modric doesn't look like done to me. So I don't know, he'll be like 50, still rolling around in midfield, like pulling all the goddamn strings, looks like. I mean, the dude still runs the most, I think, in their midfield. And I almost feel like Real knew, so they said goodbye to the guy that will have his legs blown off in Casemiro. while he was a great signing for United and really helped them because he's what they needed for the most part, you can kind of tell, he's like the wheels are starting to kind of like come off. So they already have Camavinga and stuff. So they have all these midfield players. Some people are not going to be happy. They're going to want out. And I think Tchouaméni, who we wanted supposedly last year, and he chose Real. Maybe they were like, instead of, why don't you guys take the one guy for 150, give us that guy for like 50 or whatever. And I don't really care as much about the signature big signing thing. I almost feel like it hurts sometimes more than it helps because it puts too much on one guy. It's on like one basket holding all the damn eggs. I would rather go with McAllister times 3, kind of players to rebuild this midfield and make it deeper, rather than get one guy, and then if he pulls a muscle, now you're jacked. I know, we've gone back and forth with this a lot. Like, Bellingham signing does not mean we're not going to sign anybody else, but in a lot of ways, to me, it does. Because if you're forking out 150 and you really don't have anybody to move a lot for money, so that's why I would think. And Serzi says they would have to buy defenders too. I was actually just reading that Kim's contract is at like 46. Or something like that for his buyout. So that would be actually, I thought, a good signing, having seen him a lot in Fenerbahce. And then I didn't know how well he would do, but he has done excellent in Napoli. And if Napoli got eliminated in the Champions League, it's because Kim was not there in defense as well. So I'd rather do that. I think the Bellingham thing, I understand the disappointment, but at that time, it was kind of like when we signed Thiago, right? They were like, everything is great, and here's a cherry on top kind of a deal. And I think at the time when we were talking about Bellingham, it seemed like that. You're like, you're already rolling. You bring this guy in, just kick back and relax. But then this season happens when you're like, holy shit, we got a lot of holes. Right. So it does not make financial sense, I guess, to invest in one guy and spend all the money there. But so let's go to this weekend over here. So Kazi, we're going to bring you in so you can explain to everybody and I was going to say us American folks, but including us Turkish folks. No, mostly like the newer fans. I think if you follow this club for a while, you kind of know the history. I would hope and understand like Scouse, not English and stuff like that. So this weekend's festivities, the national anthem, and the drama that goes with it. So kind of like intro, do a Scouts 101 over here and tell us why it's such a big deal, I guess.
This is difficult, man. I mean, this has been going on for 30 years, by the way. This is not like a new thing. It's, of course, in the last 10 years, it's kind of become a bit more of a thing. And this is the other part when people go, oh, it wasn't happening back in the day. Yes, because Liverpool was shit in the 90s and we didn't have the national anthem played going to Wembley. Because we went there twice, I think. Because we were garbage. Like, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, listen, Liverpool, I can't speak for everyone in Liverpool. I can only speak for, me and my family and stuff like that. Very much against the monarchy. Do not believe in a monarchy. I believe it's a very outdated prospect. It's not needed. They use taxpayers' money a lot. This is a £250 million expense, this coronation this weekend, on taxpayers' money, when they have a fortune of $2 billion. We felt like, I think, and it all changed, by the way, during Hillsborough. We felt like the vibe changed. We knew what happened, kind of thing, and there was no support from outside. And then Liverpool kind of closed shop. So Liverpool kind of closed shop from England and went, well, we don't need any of you, we'll make it out on our own, kind of thing. Liverpool is a city that is a staunch Remain city from the EU. And this is all very important coming into this because the EU actually built the docks. So when the Albert Dock, and if people have been lucky enough to be into Liverpool, the Albert Dock is one of the most beautiful places you'll ever go. 35 years ago, the Albert Dock was nothing but a swamp. And that's what it was. And it was disgusting, and the buildings were falling down, and EU grants paid for it. So we're very much, when Brexit happened, this is all a part of a bigger culture. In terms of Queen and Country, we are not that guy. We are mostly Irish. In terms of our lineage, we understand what happened with back in the day with what the UK did around the world, and we have very much open borders in terms of UK folk, Liverpool folk. So coming down to the main point of the coronation, we don't believe in it. We don't believe that you can sit on this pile of money and then still demand.
What is it, by the way? Like, what is the whole? Like, what are we celebrating, or what are they celebrating?
So the Queen died. the king takes over, and it's just basically announcing him as king.
Okay.
Yeah. So we pay 250 million again of taxpayers' money onto that when there's people homeless on the streets, and that's a lot of the argument as well. There's also a part, of course, with Prince Andrew. Doesn't look good. That's another thing that Liverpool kind of,
to say the least. Yeah.
Liverpool are the bad guys. Liverpool are the bad guys. As he's like that to the FBI. Hey, come on, send that over to where? Say nothing. Do you know what I mean? That's one of my favorite things, by the way, in the whole world. I know we're getting a bit political, but people go, "Oh, release the Epstein flight list." Okay, here's one of the guys. Oh, not him. Don't fucking not him.
He's good. You go ahead. You go ahead.
You go ahead, fella. You're fine. Don't worry about you. But yeah, it's going to get booed. I love the club statement that they kind of released to the local reporters, and the club have kind of said we've been backed into a corner here, as if to say if we don't play it, we're going to get battered from the whole country anyway. But if we do play it, it's going to get booed. So we're kind of in a lose-lose situation if you're the football club. The football.
Do they even have the option? I mean, I don't know how this stuff works over there, because I don't think they have the option in Turkey. I mean, in Turkey, I don't know why, but the national anthem is played before every freaking game. Don't ask me why, but I don't think like a team has the option. So does Liverpool have the option of not doing anything?
Yeah, they
do have the option.
Yeah, the country gave all the clubs the option to do it, but it was the Premier League were like, we really think you should do it. A bit like when your mum and dad are trying to like get you to walk into a room for a surprise. We think you should really go in that room. So basically, you're going in that room, kind of thing. So it was like. So the club's argument was to the local, you'll see this from Neil Jones and James Pearce. They've released things on it today, saying they basically told us that we're backed into a corner. Like,
and I think that's what it is, because Jamie says they shouldn't agree to it. But I think it's more of a, you want it, you got it, here you go, kind of an ordeal, right? Like if you really want it, we'll do it, but it's going to be worse than us not doing it at all.
Yes, and that's the argument. So it's like. So now Liverpool have basically said, okay, we'll play it. You're going to find out what's going to happen. Yeah. By the way, this game is a 5:30 kickoff, so people have been on the beer all day going to the game, which is going to make it. It's not even like it's 12:30 in the morning when people have just woke up out of bed. It's 5:30 when it's a massive game of football, when the fans are going to be up for it anyway, knowing we can put the pressure on United.
Absolutely.
So it's like, and then you're going to say, oh, by the way, we're going to play God Save the King. Okay, fantastic. On prime time. Yeah, prime time Sky, by the way, where no one else is doing anything. There's no other football match to watch. It's just Liverpool versus Brentford. Brilliant. So it's going to get booed. It's going to be horrific. But then hopefully the Premier League will never ask you to do it again. And will never ask us to do it again.
Well, that's what I was asking you actually before we went on live on air, because I know in Turkish games, especially recently, there've been a lot of like protests, especially after the earthquake and stuff. There were a lot of protests against the government, and actually Fenerbahce even got a ban for it. They couldn't take fans to the away game as their punishment because of the chants, because the entire stadium was basically asking for resignation, and it was, 50,000 people basically chanting at the same time, which just shows crowd mentality, by the way, because there are people who vote for the government there too. But if 45,000 is yelling, I guess, but when that happens, they kind of lower the crowd volume on TV, because my brother literally lives close enough where they can hear the stadium. So he was like, oh no, you could hear it from my freaking balcony, but then on TV it sounded like it was really quiet in the stadium. Will they show it on TV that the national anthem is getting booed, or will they be like, well, you guys know the national anthem anyway, so we'll just go to the game. Let's cut to some commercials, American style.
Nah, I think it will get shown. I'm pretty sure it'll get shown. It's the one time in my life I want Carragher and Neville on Coke Holmes together, just because they'll be like, both guys, one's from Manchester, both left-wing guys, just sitting there going, well, what did you expect? Like, how dare you? Do you know what I mean? We suppose it's like, and again, it comes back to, but Liverpool will be the bad guys when you know what's going to happen. You know what is going to happen. Mm-hmm. And then Liverpool will be on the back page tomorrow, the disgrace, that all this and that. Liverpool get clicks. We all know this. As a city and as a football club, we get clicks. Things get written about us, so we get clipped. And this is what's going to happen. And lessons need to be learned. So it's like
Liverpool's way of kind of showing how proud they are of their stance overall at the same time, though. They're like, you know what? We'll fucking play it and we'll boo it and you will like it.
Yeah. And you're going to, because we want to get our message across as well. That going, this is not needed anymore. This is not in the times of fucking dragons and fairy tales. Kings and queens don't exist anymore.
Damn it!
I know. I still believe in fairy tales that the Reds can finish top 4. By the way,
You're saying there's a chance?
64%. 64%. That's not a fairy tale. That's not a fairy tale, I would say.
Come back to me next week when we beat Brentford on Sunday.
I still have a 25% chance there's going to be a dragon this weekend's game. Okay. This weekend's game, give me a quick prediction on your lineup and score here, John. Let's start with you.
Lineup, I think more of the same. Is my question is, I haven't done due diligence for research, but is Tony playing? Biggest concern. He's Tony playing, so definitely same back line, probably same style of play for sure. We're going to continue with the change system.
So no Hendo in midfield.
No Hendo.
He is a doubt.
Yeah, he's a doubt, which means usually he'll probably not going to at least start.
He's 3 weeks, isn't he?
So who do you start in midfield and the front three? I think those are the kind of like the fill in the blanks areas for us right now.
For the front three, let me start with the front three because midfield is just another problem. But front three, I'd go back with Gakpo. I liked Nunez's energy, but there were times where he still looked a little all over the place. I don't know about you guys, but Nunez this year he's been good at times. He's been bad. He's been meh at times. Last game showed kind of like the best and worst of him. I feel, winning that penalty was all Nunez. It was all energy. But then in terms of like the buildup, I could see that he's definitely not the kind of player we'd want in terms of a team that would sit back. Yeah. I think Gakpo is more suited for that. So definitely Gakpo. I know Jota is still carrying a knock. So definitely the same in terms of the wings. Diaz to the left, Salah to the right for the front three. For the midfield, well, Fab and Jones, I'd stick with them. I mean, we're going to have to play Elliott, aren't we?
That's why. That's why. Well, hold on. Kazi has a different theory there. So you're putting Elliott?
Well, I would love to put Milner because it does seem like the kind of game where it's going to be, a lot of physicality, especially, how we were absolutely demolished in the reverse fixture when we played Brentford. In terms of, like I keep saying, I was telling my dad that game, Liverpool sides very rarely get dominated physically, especially our best teams. Brentford was one of those instances. The away fixture was like where I was like, oh, every ball, every 50-50, every duel, we just came out second best. So I think as much as I want to put in Milner, I just think he'd get a yellow in like 5 minutes. And that puts us in an absolute jam. So I'd probably go with Elliott to start. Maybe Klopp looks at how he's doing at halftime. If he's not working out, put in Milner for sure. Hendo half fit. If Hendo is fit enough to play, definitely go. Like if he's at 60%, 70% for sure. Like you saw my hesitation when I said we're gonna have to put in Elliott because this isn't the game for him. I feel like it's too physical. Fair. Yeah, I feel like it's too. Yeah,
I'm Milner all the way. I think and the reason being I know Milner can cover Trent more for the right back situation. Let's get it right. Brentford are going to play in the counter attack, and I think Gakpo will come straight back in. I think Darwin. I've never seen a player who needs a pre-season more than Darwin Núñez. He just needs a pre-season. I think he just needs a proper with Klopp for 8 weeks and go. Here's how you're going to be playing, and here's what you're going to be doing. So I do think he does Milner unless Henderson is fit. I think he does Gakpo. I think, and going back to John's point about Ivan Toney, he has to play. He's got a bet on James Milner to have the first yellow card, so you know what I mean?
That's a sucker bet there, but
the most dead cert bet of all time, and it's like he's gonna. I love how, by the way, the Ivan Toney allegations is like 200 bets or something. It's not even like it's 1 or 2. He was just like, no, I'm just an avid gambler on this game. Like I just love having a bet. I just love having a bet on this. And he's a Liverpool fan as well, so he might be shit. Who knows? Yeah,
Sheldon says his concern is pace, and I'm kind of like the same way. I know he's experienced enough and smart enough to play in a way where his pace does not come into play as much, right? I mean, if you're a smart player, after a while how to play, especially as you get slower and slower, how to compensate for that. So you might not push up, or you might just cut the passing lane and sort of freaking trying to press or whatever. But I think I go with Elliott and hope for the best that the game is at home now as opposed to at Brentford. So the crowd's energy is going to be on our side more than anything else, probably for the same concern. And you're going to rely a lot on Konate. So it's going to be really important how well he plays, because we're going to do the same thing with Trent again. But same thing at the front three. I think we're all in agreement that Gakpo is the one in the middle there. I mean, his progression is probably one of the biggest, like, the most promising things this season.
Absolutely.
It almost looks like a faster, bigger Bobby in the works almost thing. And we're forgetting that this guy came in mid-season. So the preseason you're talking about, for example, Kazi, he has not even had a week of it. So a whole, like a preseason with him, hopefully we'll have more of Bobby injected in him. And, I think that was like a really good, probably the biggest signing of the year. But so score predictions. John, starting with you. Shoot.
2-1 us. 2-1 Liverpool.
2-1. God, you guys like the heart attack games.
It's a heart attack game.
But I think like every game we won, right? I think like you posted like a tweet in the Discord, Kazi, that it was like 4-3, 2-1, 1-0, 3-2, and stuff like that. So what do we have? Oh, Sparky's got the copy paste back on again. 2-2, he says.
2-2.
I'm gonna say 3-0 Liverpool. I just feel like when it happens, Liverpool now know there's half a chance, and I do feel like they know it's half a chance. We can't play as well as we did against Spurs for 70 minutes at least. I thought against Fulham we were actually okay in the game, and I thought we felt quite comfortable until Jordan Henderson decided to try and chip the keeper from 45 yards with a minute left.
I was like, buddy, I mean, and it's so like, if Elliott did that, you'd be like, kid, you better learn, right? But Hendo doing that was mind-boggling,
Mate, genuinely, I was close to getting a flight home. Don't fucking kill him. What are you doing? And then he's trying to do Cruyff turns and stuff. I'm like, you're not this guy. You're not that guy. Just come on and pass the ball around, Jordan.
Like he can't track back as well as he used to. He might as well just save the energy for tracking back.
When he picked up that ball, he had loads of space. I was like, oh, Jordan, straight the corner flag. There's
exactly. Right. Take your time. He could have jogged to the corner and the game would have been over. But I don't know like why he did. I was like, what are you doing? That was like I say, it was Elliott who did that. You'd be like, come on, kid, grow up. Because I know if it's Milner, and we've seen this before, he's just, trotting over slowly to the corner, earning a foul by shielding or whatever, and game is over. Yeah, that was more of a heart attack than I needed that game. It was very frustrating.
I think Klopp got him in the dressing room and went, sit there and think about what you've done. You fucking think about what you've done.
Watch this shit. Like,
how dare you? You're 33, grow up.
Right.
So let me ask you this, by the way. Like, we're talking about the national anthem thing. Will that help the atmosphere?
Yes.
Or will people blow their load, if you will, protesting the national anthem, and then won't have the energy for afterwards? Like, how do you think that affects the game? Does it get people fired up so they're like, we protested that, now let's kick some ass? Or
yes, yeah, okay. They will be fucking flying. Trust me. And like, again, the game is big enough. The game is big enough. The fans know there's half a chance, and there is a sniff of a chance. Let's get it right. I want United to go to West Ham going there 1 point behind us. And that's it. That's Liverpool's job. They are 1 point behind us. Even if you draw, Liverpool could go above you. I know you got games in hand and all that, blah, blah, but you still got to win your games in hand. You still have to win them. But I want that moment of like, fuck that one. So the game is big enough. Now, what you've done is just give a firecracker to Liverpool. The worst thing you can give Liverpool is a chance. It's the worst thing you can give this football club. Yeah. Don't give us a chance. That's why I was so impressed with Real Madrid in the return leg. They didn't let Liverpool score earlier. Didn't let them get into the game. That's super impressive to me. If Liverpool scored in the first 15 minutes, I think Liverpool win the game. That sounds insane. But and now what you've done is just give us a firecracker. The game is big enough. It's a massive football match for Liverpool. We can get it in the top four. And now you've went, there you go, and there's a load of gas on the fire. Fantastic.
Let's hope so. Let's hope we're talking come Monday morning, Polish Prince and I on the morning coffee show talking about a win. And there's a 25% chance we might see a dragon during the game. So it should be a fun time. So just tune in on Saturday. God knows what the fuck will happen. So let's hope for a win. Let's hope that chase continues. You never know. Maybe we'll be down to 1 point and 1 point only if the 64% chance is accurate. But we'll see about that. You guys have an awesome weekend, hopefully with some 3 points and good weather over here. Spring is here. Thanks a lot as always. See you guys.